Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. In today's episode, I am sharing with you 4 Christmas DIYs that are so easy to create, so fun. They get your creative juices flowing and they bring that perfect holiday touch to your Christmas decor. It's also part of a collaboration. I'll tell you more about that as we get into the video. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. When you do see your favorite DIY in today's video, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's go make some DIYs. This is another sign that I have just sitting from a clearance bin of signs that I just keep whenever I find little things like this at home decor stores. This actually came from like a local farm store that we have. And I mean, it was like $1.70 something, I think it says there. I mean, a great deal. I can't pass that up on a sign. I don't necessarily need a sign that says fresh herbs. It is cute the way that it is, but I think I bought like 3 of these. So I think this might be my last one that I'm making at Christmas. So it is very thick wood. It's a nice sturdy sign, but you might have something at your house that you could do in a project like this. Now I'm just taking some sandpaper and I'm going to kind of sand this down as much as I can. The surface on this was a little bit different than I don't even know how to explain it, but it took a minute to kind of sand it. And then eventually I was like, I'm just going to paint this. I really wanted to kind of have that wood show through, but the letters were just not going anywhere. So I'm going to do, I think I do 3 coats of white paint on this to just cover this up. And then I'm going to do kind of like a little texture, not a texture, but a finish on it. Let's go with that. A finish on it that makes it look kind of like wood. Hopefully it'll translate really well with the project that I have in mind. So I'm taking some antiquing wax now that my sign is completely dry, and I'm just putting both sides of the bristles of my chip brush in that, and I'll test it out on the paper. Number 1, that gets a lot of the pooled antiquing wax off of there before you go in on your wood, and it's going to kind of let you see if you need more pressure, less pressure, because once you kind of do this, you don't really want to go over where you've already done because it can mess up the lines and the streaks with that antiquing wax. So you can see on that top one, I did start in the middle, so it kind of makes it look like a natural knot of the wood there. So that's kind of what I'm going for. It's not rocket science. I mean, the first time you do it, it might be a little nerve-wracking, but it actually is pretty easy. I think you can handle this. Now, after that antiquing wax is completely dried, I'm just going in with a coat of Mod Podge here. We're going to put some decoupage paper that I got from the DIY struggle on this sign, and these little faux wood lines that we're putting on here are going to show through. It looks really cool when it's done. So this is this gigantic sheet of the decoupage paper. There's all these different designs that you can kind of tear out or cut out or use in all of your different projects. I love this. I'll leave a link to all of her stuff down in my description box so you can check her out. In fact, I had a video yesterday that came out that was all using her projects in another collaboration. It was really fun. So she does some amazing things. But with this paper here, I just got my paintbrush. It got some water on it, and I went down the edge of it to get it wet. And then I'm just using a pencil eraser to go on here to kind of give this a natural torn edge. Now you can rip this with your fingers, but I really just like the precision and the ease of using a pencil eraser to do this. And I do that on all of the edges of the paper. You just want to make sure that you wet that edge first before you go in with your eraser. Now this is just some parchment paper going over the top of this. We're going to use my mini heat press here. This is going to activate that Mod Podge layer that we put on and bond this decoupage paper to this. Now a lot of people have different techniques for their decoupage, and I love this one. Tammy from Happiness Created is the one that taught me to do this. She's the one that convinced me to finally try this method, and I do absolutely love this. But there's a lot of different ways to do Mod Podge, so just not Mod Podge, but decoupage with Mod Podge. I always get those 2 terms mixed up. Anyhow, I'm just going over to heat up all of the areas on this. You do just want to make sure you have that parchment paper in between to protect your iron from anything. And you get this nice clean finish. That decoupage paper is a little bit see-through. So as you can see the wood finish through this. I think this looks beautiful. This just looks like a scene that Santa is sitting in his home looking out into the North Pole forest, and he sees these beautiful little deer, this little vignette with those beautiful trees. That's at least what I'm going to imagine that Santa is looking at. I just think this is such a beautiful picture, and I love this. What a fun and beautiful shelf sitter to have in your decor, to give to somebody, to sell. It is a very easy project, but it looks very high end. I would love to know what you guys think of this one. As I mentioned earlier, today's video is part of a Christmas collaboration. This is put together and hosted by Liana over at Liana DIY, and this time around our guest hosts are Craftastic DIYs and a perfect place to start. I am joined by all of these wonderfully talented creators. We all have some beautiful Christmas DIYs for you. All you have to do is click on the link that is pinned in my comments as well as posted in my description box. It will take you right over to the playlist to play everyone's videos. You'll get all of that fun Christmas DIY inspiration for your Christmas crafting. Sit back, enjoy, be entertained, and feel inspired. Let's go make some more DIYs. I'm so excited to show you this DIY. It's almost like 4 DIYs in one, but I love how this turns out. So this cute little sign I found just recently, like this last week at Dollar Tree. It's a cute little laundry sign, and I loved that it had the little pegs on it. And I knew immediately what I wanted to do with it when I saw it. So I just sprayed some water on it, and I'm just using my putty knife to scrape off that glue. It may take you a few minutes to get all of that scraped off, but it worked better to scrape it than to sand it, in my opinion. Once that dries, I just take a little bit of white chalk paint on a chip brush, and I'm just dry brushing this on. I just really wanted a nice faded look to it. So you can paint it a different color if you want, or whatever you want to do with it, but that's the style that I was going for. Now I'm taking a sleigh from Dollar Tree. I'm actually going to do 3 different sleighs here in this DIY. This first one, I'm going to paint the base of the sleigh here, the part that you would write on, white, and then I'm going to paint the bottom part of the sleigh here just in black, just doing a traditional Farmhouse palette. And each of the sleighs that I'm doing are each a different type of sleigh also. So if you can find a variation, do that, or whatever works, or whatever you've got on hand. Now I'm taking some foam core board, and I want a wreath to go on one of my sleighs, and so I didn't have a wreath small enough because these sleighs are kind of teeny, so I just thought I would make my own. The greenery here is just off of the boxwood picks that you pick up at Walmart. I love those boxwood picks. You can use them all year, and I feel like you can get so many projects out of them. So definitely when you're at Walmart, look at their florals and pick a couple of those up. You will not regret it. So now I just cut off the littlest, teeniest size of the leaves that I could, and I just glue them all the way around and fill in all the gaps and everything so you cannot see that. And you could use cardboard if you don't have foam core board, and something like that. And now I'm just taking some little teeny tiny red berries. This is also off of a pick that I got at Walmart, and I just glued those all the way around, just kind of to bring in a little pop of color into that. So now moving on to our second sleigh, I am going to stain with just my Waverly Antiquing Wax the portion of the sleigh that you would sit on here, like the base of that, and then on the bottom, and the name escapes me of what these would be called, like the blades of the sleigh maybe. I'm painting those black, and then I will stipple on some metallic here, silver, because I wanted this to look like maybe it was aged metal, was kind of what I was going for, and so I just went all the way around to do that. This cute little deer ornament came from Dollar Tree. It came like 2 to a pack, so I just took this and put a decent amount of hot glue and just held that down till it was completely dry. I wanted this sleigh to look like it had a little bit of snow on it, so I'm just putting some white chalk paint on a chip brush, and I'm just dabbing that up and down. And after I did this, and I'm just doing it kind of as if the sleigh was propped up against something where the snow would naturally fall, and I decided that the white paint wasn't cutting it, so I take a little Mod Podge, I do the same thing over the paint, and then I'm just going to take some glitter, and this would be completely optional. I know some people do not like glitter, but I just thought that it added a little something to this sleigh, and I just sprinkled that glitter over the top of this where that Mod Podge is, and I just shake that off, and I just think that adds the perfect touch of snow on there. And And then you just kind of, when you can see I pull it upside down and I just tap it all off to get that off of there. And I just thought it looked so cute. So now I'm taking the third sleigh here, and I wanted to do this in a traditional like brown and red metal type of sleigh look here. So the base of the sleigh on these, I'm just taking some red paint, and I will get that on the sides here all over the bottom there. And then I'll also do that on like the crossbar, and you'll see how I do that here in just a second. You can see over there. And I just thought that that would be really cute. In my mind, that's where the red part of the sleigh would be. And then I just use antiquing wax to do the rest of it. And so that's how that goes. And for some reason in my mind, that little piece, it was like a piece of wood that would be going up that metal would fasten to. So that's why I chose to do that. So anyway, I just went ahead around with my little emery board and distressed it so it looked like an aged sleigh. And then I even had like a little bit of black paint on a baby wipe there that I went over where I sanded to kind of give it more of an aged and an older look. I picked up this little Christmas tree. This came from like the little village section that Dollar Tree always has. And I just thought it would be really cute to have this tied onto this sleigh, like somebody's bringing their Christmas tree home for Christmas to decorate it. And I'm just kind of pushing the bristles. It's like a bottle brush. So I'm pushing those bristles out so that way it will lay a little bit flatter against my sleigh. And then I'm just using hot glue. I did take off the snow base of that because it didn't look very realistic, if you will, on there. So I just wrapped the base in some twine to kind of look like the trunk of the tree. And then I glued that on, and I decided to glue it on upside down, like that was how they had placed it, like it had just kind of fallen over on the sleigh. And I tied it down with some twine to look like the tree was tied down with rope, and just put a little teeny bow on the top of that. So now you can see I have this little wreath I'm going to put onto this sleigh, and I had this little ornament that came from Walmart. Dollar Tree has some cute little ornaments too that would be darling on there, or you wouldn't have to do one at all. I just really like the fact that it had a cute little thing on there to say sleigh ride, since I'm kind of going with the sleigh theme on here. And here's all three of these sleighs together. I just think they all turned out so cute. They were so fun to create. So now I'm going back to the base of the sign because we're going to let everybody know that they can park their sleighs here. So I'm just taping some tissue paper to just a regular piece of copy paper. And you just want to make sure that this it's like the dull side is what's up. So there's a shiny side and a dull side to tissue paper. I put the shiny side towards the paper because I want the ink to go onto the dull side of the paper. Now I just fed this through my printer like a piece of paper. I just found some script and wrote this in Word, put it through. I have an inkjet printer, not a laser printer. I just make sure that that ink is very, very dry before I put any Mod Podge. And you can see how the ink kind of bleeds through onto the paper. Now I'm taking a little brush with some water on it, and I'm just going around the the sleigh parking, and just ripping that. This will give it a natural edge rather than a cut edge, and that way when you Mod Podge this down, it will kind of disappear into the background. So I just do a thin layer of Mod Podge, and I'm having a very hard time holding onto the sign, but I want to do this all over. So when you do this, make sure the Mod Podge goes all over, not just where your words go, because you want the sheen and the finish to look cohesive. And then I just did my best to eyeball how I wanted that centered, and then I work from the middle out with just dabbing my finger and making sure there are no wrinkles or anything, and I just kind of go up to the edge, and then you can kind of say I pull it taut there, and then keep doing that. And if your tissue paper will allow you to kind of pick it up, if you get a wrinkle or two, do it. But if you feel that it's going to start to tear, just embrace the wrinkles and just let it be a part of the sign. So I take a little bit of Mod Podge and I go over the edge, not over the ink. I'm just going over the edge. Now, if this had dried for several days, I could probably go over the ink and be fine, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to seal this instead. I have this clear glaze Krylon, and I'm just going to spray this over the top. And I just make sure this goes all over to give the same sheen, and just a little spritz on there, and then I let that dry completely. Then after that's dry, I just take a little bit of white paint, and on my little brush, just very lightly dry brush over the letters to make it blend into the background of that sign. I just think that is super cute. I'll link the font name if I can down in my description box. And then I stained those cute little pegs, and I just screwed those back on and hung these little sleighs from it. And you guys, I think this turned out this might be one of my favorite Christmas crafts ever. It's so cute. It was so fun. You can personalize it. You could have all of like your kids or your grandkids decorate a cute little sleigh to hang from it. So next time you're at Dollar Tree, pick up one of those laundry signs and look for some cute little sleighs, or even if you had different ornaments you wanted to decorate and hang from it. It would be so cute. This project is so fun and simple, and it's something that you can use throughout the entire year. It's not specific just to Christmas. In fact, I've actually done this project for a couple of other seasons on my channel, and I just love it. So you just need one of these solid signs from Dollar Tree. It can be either the solid wood ones or the composite material such as this. It doesn't matter. It just can't be hollow. And all I'm going to do is just take my fingernail file and sand off the edges. I do not need to remove the graphic that's on here because I will be gluing cardstock over the top of it. And so the cardstock will be opaque. You will not be able to see this design through. If you're going to be doing something like painting it, you don't want that moisture of the paint to go through that graphic and bubble it up. And if you're going to be doing something thin like a tissue paper, you will want to peel this graphic back. Now I took this outside and I cut it down to be 3 inches high on each of these little blocks here. And you can do this with a table saw, a hand saw I've used several times. In fact, when I did a live on my channel and made these, I used just a table saw to do that, or a hand saw, and it works great. I'll put a link to those down in my description box if you're interested in checking them out on Amazon, but you can get them at any hardware store. They run about $10. Now I just sanded then smoothed out each of the edges of these blocks. You can see here that I got 5 blocks, or actually 6 blocks, excuse me, out of one of those signs from Dollar Tree. So if you were to take these and sell these at a craft fair, you're paying like $1.25 for the sign, but you can get 6 projects out of this. You can sell them as a group for easily like $18 or $20, I feel like. That's, you can sell each one individually $3, $4, depending on the market that you live in. But it's definitely a great, inexpensive project to be able to get a very good return when you're reselling these. Now I'm just using my trusty Elmer's purple school glue stick. I love this. It works wonders for items like this. I love it so much more than Mod Podge. I will go over the top of these at the end with Mod Podge, but to do the actual getting this to stick to the surface, that Elmer's school glue is great. I'm just using my brayer here just to get a nice firm hold, making sure all of the edges have been pushed down. It just creates a really good bond. And you can see I'm just going to flip over the block and do the exact same thing on the other side. Now I've made this mistake way too many times, so I feel that I'm just going to share it because someone out there is probably just like me and goes to glue these together and flips it over to look at both sides and realize you've glued one side upside down. So every time I go to make these, I feel that happens to me at least once. So learn from my mistakes. I'm just letting you know if that matters to you and you want to be able to see it from the back side, make sure you're gluing them down right sides so that way one's not upside down. Now these are so fun because say you wanted to put a Christmas design on one side, you could flip it over and just put a beautiful winter scene or snowman on the other side. So that way during the season when Christmas was over, you could just walk around your house and flip these around to the other side. Christmas is put away and you've got a nice winter display out. It's also fun to be able to do like fall on one side and Christmas on the other, or you can do patriotic on one side for summertime and then flip it over and have like a nice cute just summer flower or something on there. They're so versatile and these are such great items to resell. People love these. They're just beautiful little tray sitters or shelf sitters. I just tucked these all over my home with my Christmas decor and they were so cute. And honestly, it's something that a lot of like, if you have people come over, this was the item people could like pick up in their hand, just really easy. They would pick it up and be like, oh, that's so cute. And they just loved them. So it's a beautiful, easy project and it's just super fun and quick to make. Don't forget to clean up the edges when you're doing these signs though. I just take a fingernail file and go in a downward motion over all of the edges. This is just going to take any of that excess cardstock off and it's going to make this look like it was actually printed and made to go on your block. It's just such a great way to finish a piece and I recommend anytime you're doing any type of decoupage, using any type of medium to do this after the glue has dried to give that nice clean look. It just really elevates your piece to the next level. Since I want these to have a little bit of an aged look, I'm taking just a little bit of antiquing wax on like a baby wipe or a wet paper towel, and I will just go around the edge of each of these, especially where we sanded the edge to make it match the surface there to give that clean edge. It does sometimes expose a little bit more of that white cardstock. This just kind of helps mute that and kind of blend it in. And I just really like the aged look. You can even go a little bit further into the graphic to kind of make it look like a vignette style. So that way it kind of is framing the picture. It's up to you how much you want to use this, but I do recommend at least going around the very edge just to give a nice finished look to it. You can see here I'm just taking some Mod Podge, and this is how I'm sealing them in. You can use a satin, you can use a matte, which is what I'm using here. It just depends on what you want your decor to be like. But I do like the matte just because then you can kind of see when it's wet, you have that glare on it. If you use just the glossy kind, you'll always have that kind of glare with the bright lights and everything. So that's why I kind of like using the matte on these, just to have a different finish. But I think these turn out so pretty. Perfect little shelf sitters. You could do all sorts of different little blocks with different pictures on them for different things in your home. You could even do like kids' pictures on these. If you didn't want to do graphics, you could have one for each family member or something. I just think these are so fun and just such a great technique to know and have for all different seasons. I really love using these faux pressed tin sheets from Dollar Tree, and I'm just taking some scraps that I have from other projects I've used that I've cut shapes out of, and so I just hang on to those because you never know when you're going to need to use them, and this was the perfect time for me to get into all of my scraps here. So I have this Christmas tree shape that I have these came from Dollar General, and you place them together and make some 3D trees. But I mean, you could print something out and cut it. If you can freehand, you could do that. I tried to freehand it and it was an absolute disaster. So I reached into my stash and grabbed these to trace out a Christmas tree shape. But I want to make some pressed tin looking ornaments. And you can see here that I just added a cute little stump to the end of the tree, so that'll kind of be a little detail there. So I mean, use your imagination, and there's so many possibilities that you could do with different shapes other than just Christmas trees. This is just what I'm doing in this video, but I mean, how cute would some cute little stockings be, or even just some traditional ornament shapes, some angels? They would all be beautiful. So I cut 4 out. They're all 4 different sizes. I go from like largest down to smallest, and I'm just going to do a couple coats of some white paint for my base. I feel like white paint is a good base to use because anything you add, if you add color or anything else or age it on top of that, white is the best place to start. So I just give these, it takes about 3 coats each side to get the coverage that I want. At the beginning of this Christmas crafting season, I bought this patina kit. Mine came from Hobby Lobby, but I know there are a lot of other brands and a lot of craft stores will probably carry this exact thing here. I bought it when it was on sale, so I didn't really pay full price for it, but it's been really fun to kind of experiment with. So it comes with like the patina spray, you get a primer, and then you get a copper paint. And you have to do it in the steps that you want to follow your instructions for whatever kit you use, because it creates a reaction to have a natural patina. So for my kit, I start with the primer and I prime the front and back of all of my trees, let that dry completely, and you do 2 coats, and then I can add on the copper on top of that. And so now I'll go through and add the copper on the front and the back of each of these. And I think it's said to do 2 coats of this also, which is what I do. So just read your instructions of what you do. But I mean, even just like this, I think this copper color is absolutely just a beautiful color. But there's something in the paint that's going to create a reaction when you spray it with the patina. And so that's kind of what I'm going for. I'm really going for a vintage look here. I wanted these to look like they were a pressed tin that had been painted over and then aged. Maybe paint had flaked off. So I'm going with a messy coat of white paint. This is going to help that raised portion of these little, it's faux tin, but for some reason in my head I keep wanting to call it actual tin. But you're just going to go over that raised portion of these tiles. Let's call them tiles. There we go. And it's just going to reveal that beautiful design, but I don't want full coverage of the white paint because I do want that copper color to show through. Now my intent was I was going to spray these and that copper was going to age, and it was going to age into a beautiful like patinaed bluish greenish color. So you can see that I'm just using a little bit of a heat tool to help that paint dry. I do recommend using a heat tool on these if you have them, because it helps the edges of this faux tin kind of curl a little bit. It kind of melts it and not kind of, I mean it does, but it helps it have a look like it's actual tin, not cut out of plastic. So here I'm spraying the patina spray, and I immediately notice that it's the paint that starts to have a reaction, not necessarily the copper. I don't know if it was because it was on plastic. I don't know if it was just the nature of the chalk paint, but I actually really liked how it came out. And you can kind of see some of these, it even yellowed in some areas, almost like rusty look. I just think in the back, I don't know if it's because they were laying on the back, because I sprayed them too, and so I don't know if that just didn't, but I mean, they're going to be hanging on my tree, so you won't see that as much. But if you don't have the patina spray, maybe use some green paint too. That might give you the same effect. So you can use a hole punch, but I felt like that punch was way too big. I don't have any smaller hole punches than just the standard one. So I'm using my Crocodile, just the one of the settings on that, to cut a little hole in the top of each of these. And then I'm just going to take some twine and I loop it, and I'm just putting the loop from the front part of the tree to the back. And then I will pull that loop out, and you can see how I do that right here. And then I'm just going to put my fingers through and pull the excess, the tails through there. And that gives you a nice finished look on there, instead of tying it off, just putting one end through and tying it, because then your tree doesn't hang facing outward, and you want your ornaments to show through your tree. So I particularly like this method to help your ornaments hang the correct way. Now I just cut those tails down after tying a knot in there, and I just kind of rough up that twine to give it more of an intentional look, rather than it having just be like, I mean, if these have been aged, you kind of want them to look like they've been around for a minute or two. So now I am just tying all of them, and I will lay them on top of each other, and I will match up the hole size, and I'm just going to tie the ends of the twine so they match. So for instance, if you were going to sell these or give these away, you want your lengths to be the exact same and your knots to kind of fall in the exact same length. But look at how beautiful these look. Again, my tree is not up yet. It is October when I made these, so I just have this little bit of garland to show these to you on. But I mean, look at those colors. They are so beautiful. I feel like I want to go make like 10 more and have them all over my tree. I would love to know your thoughts on this process, if this is something you would try, if you liked how these turned out, because they exceeded my expectations so much with how they turned out, and I'm very, very pleased with them. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed today's projects. If you did have a favorite, always let me know down in the comments. It is so fun reading which projects that you guys liked the best. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.